Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Henley Women's Regatta. We're here on the Sunday. It's a beautiful day down here in Henley, but it's finals day. The place is abuzz with activity. Crowds on the bank, athletes on the water, so we're looking forward to a fantastic day of racing and a full set of racing. Any racing that you might have caught over the past 2 days, the finals will be happening today, so make sure you tune in, follow us. We'll have coverage of every single race, starting at 9:15 and going right through to about 5 o'clock this evening. So we're thoroughly looking forward to all that. My name's Tom Morgan. I'll be with you for the next few hours. I'm joined here by Stan Collingwood. Stan, how are you looking forward to the racing this morning?
Yes, good morning, Tom. It's what more could one ask? A beautiful morning, just a little bit of light cloud. One really can't say there's a breeze this morning. Not a lot, no stream to make with. Conditions are just ideal for racing, and we start in just a couple of minutes. The 9:15 race, the first race of the day. We're starting with all the elites, the very top category events. We get those heats out of the way first thing, and I can see the first race just waiting quietly on the stake boats. They're very tight on the timing here, so they won't actually start the race until 9:15. We're starting with just the one heat of the elite coxless fours. We've got on the enclosure side Molesey and Nottingham Composite, and on the far side Lee, as we have a lovely picture there of Fawley Court, which I think has changed its role recently and is now a conference centre. But all down the course, the countryside's beautiful, the setting's beautiful, and now we just wait for the start of the first race.
Yeah, Stan said, thoroughly looking forward to the racing today. Race 301 is first heat of the elite coxless fours. So we're starting with a bang here at Henley Women's, and the crews are under starters' orders, so we're almost ready to go here. And they're off. Molesey and Lee Rowing Club, the Molesey Boat Club, Nottingham Rowing Club Composite on the Berkshire station, and Lee Rowing Club on the Buckinghamshire station.
Both crews steered really well down the island. You can see it's almost perfectly calm in the shadow of the island. There's no rough water at all. We'll try and pick up how the crews are doing as we get to our next camera, which is placed a little bit further down the Temple Island meadow. But it's good to see, Tom, that there's really good conditions as we get to the top class racing.
Yeah, stunning conditions this morning. We're very lucky. It's been a bit overcast over the weekend, but it really has. The sun has really come out today. Of course, these two crews have already raced each other at the Metropolitan Regatta about 3 weeks ago, and it was the Molesey Boat Club Nottingham crew that came out on top, finishing second in the elite coxless fours ahead of Lee, who finished fifth. So on paper, Stan, this should be a walkover.
Well, we can see that Molesey, who went off, they've settled, they were 39s and now... and they've hit the booms. We have the first casualty today. Lee, who were just settling into their rhythm there, they were about through 2/3 of a length down, and as you come off the island, you get a row of red buoys to warn you, and then you get the solid wooden booms, and you can see the impact. Well, that is tough luck at the beginning of the race, Tom.
Absolutely, that's a real shame, because I think we're in for a good race there. But Molesey and Nottingham are just going to row away now, aren't they?
Well, I was going to say, as you can see immediately, Molesey, psychologically, they now know the race is over. They've got a final to race this afternoon. So immediately they're down to paddling. They're down rating in the mid-20s. They would have taken the pressure off. My guess is they'll now just be doing what we might call about 2/3 pressure, just leaning on with the bodies, getting a nice rhythm going, almost the same as a warm-up paddle. One's heart goes out to the Lee, but it's a hard sport if you make a mistake.
Absolutely. Competitive sport is unforgiving. But you talked there, Stan, just briefly about the red buoys and the warning. I mean, how difficult is it to steer out of that Henley Island, coming out into the middle of the course?
Well, what's easy to forget with the adrenaline that's running is whoever is steering the boat, if you look down towards the stake boat, there is a Y with a ball in it behind the stake boat, and that is a steering guide. If we just next time we get a shot of the stake boat, I can try and point it out to people, but there's a ball in the middle of a Y, and certainly for the first quarter mile or so, if you just keep that ball in the middle of the wire, you're going to be beautifully on station. And thereafter, because in a coxless boat you're steering a boat that's going in the opposite direction to the way you look, all you've got to do is follow the umpire's launch. It's going to go down the middle of the course. Very easy to sit here and say that. quite difficult to do under the adrenaline and pressure of racing a crew that's already beaten you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can hear the cheers on the bank here for the Molesey Nottingham Rowing Club crew. Of course, the people here at the bank probably don't know what happened further up the course stand, but this is going to be an easy rowing, and they can reserve some energy for the final later on today.
Absolutely. Although we do have a system unique here to Henley Women's Regatta, where in every umpire's launch there is a member of the commentary team. So there would have been a member of the commentary team in the launch following this race. So hopefully over the public address, people would have been advised what happened. One's heart just goes out to those young ladies from Lee. They would have trained for hours and hours, for months and months. And here we can see as they come down the last third of the course, all a bit of an anticlimax at this stage. But Molesey will be pleased that they've been able to keep all their weapons in the locker for this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we head back to the start, see what's going on up there. The next race is just about to get underway on the State Boats, race 302, our first semi-final of the elite coxless pairs, with Cambridge University Women's Boat Club on the Berkshire station and Oxford University Women's Boat Club on the Buckinghamshire station. Now, I have to say, Stan, on paper, this should be a fantastic race because we've got four athletes who raced in the blue boats this year for Cambridge and Oxford respectively. Of course, Oxford did come out on top, but it was a pretty tempestuous race if you saw it on the TV.
Well, I looked at both these pairs in their heats yesterday, and they looked to me to be the outstanding crews in this event. So I don't think this is going to be very much between these two crews. Cambridge, of course, in their distinctive light blue, and Oxford University Women's Boat Club on the far side.
Yeah, of course, these Oxford-Cambridge crews actually contain the respective presidents from this year's campaign. So Maddie Badcott was president for OUWBC, and Hannah Roberts, who sits in the bow of the Cambridge boat, was president for Cambridge University Boat Club. This is a real grudge match. I'm looking forward to seeing who comes out on top between these two. Of course, Oxford did win the championship girls pairs at Bucks Regatta, with Cambridge finishing second. So again, due to the form book, we're looking at an Oxford win here.
Well, now look, as we come down towards the end of the island, if we hold on that camera for a minute, you can see where the Oxford crew are, but it's the same on the Cambridge side. Is the white boys changed to red boys 50 metres before you have the first wooden boom. So if you actually are trying to steer off the buoys, you've got very little warning if you're too close to the buoys. And of course, when you come to the end of the island and the end of the shelter, if there is any crosswind, that's the point at which the crosswind will hit you. And of course, if it's a crosswind coming off the towbar, it's going to encourage you into the booms.
Yeah,
and conversely, if you're on the towfile side and the crosswind is coming from behind the island, it's going to encourage the crew on the towpath side onto the booms. No problems here, though. Two pairs on a good course. I don't think we can split them yet, can we?
No, not looking at that. I think it's pretty close between the two crews. Of course, lots of rivalry between these two boats. But I think as they come down past the beautiful shadows of Temple Island, I think it might be Oxford who are just in the lead here by about half a length. Because it's hard to call. Our camera angles are a little deceptive. And we're looking forward to making full use of the drone footage later on this afternoon. But I think as they come down, around 400 metres gone in this semi-final of the elite coxless pairs, I think it might be Oxford who've just stolen a march on their Cambridge rivals.
I don't know. I think, Tom, you gave them the commentator's curse. One of the things that happens as soon as you say it's a slight lead over the PA system, the lead changes. And I was just about to say, oh, well, Oxford at 36 and Cambridge at 37, and Oxford have got a slight lead. At that point, Cambridge actually got their noses in front, and now I think Cambridge have got about half a length. Cambridge are at 36. Oxford look like they've taken their rate down again. I'll just clock that. Yes, Oxford are now down to 34. We're quite a long way now down Temple Island Meadows, so that's, 300 metres into the race?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit. I mean, they're heading down towards the barrier now, and Stan, you're spot on. If you look at the two crews, I think Cambridge have got far the more livelier rhythm. Oxford look a little sluggish in the water, despite the fact the conditions are, as you say, absolutely perfect for competitive racing this morning.
And it's interesting, that little bit of extra life on the entry from Cambridge means they're 35.5 to Oxford at 34. There just seems to be a better rhythm in the Cambridge boat at entry. There's not quite that absolute unanimity in the Oxford boat. It's so difficult in a coxless pair, isn't it, Tom, to find that right rhythm and that right cadence.
Well, they're incredibly difficult boats to row, aren't they? I mean, you completely rely on the person in front of you to make sure they're doing exactly what you need them to do, and vice versa if the person is behind you. But it still looks like Cambridge here, and they'll be delighted if they can hold on to this, because this is a real turn-up for the form books.
I think that the thing to remember, of course, is in small boats that whereas in the larger boats, once you get a length and a half, it's very difficult to come back. In small boats, you need a much bigger cushion. I always think anything under 2 lengths and race is definitely not over. Both pairs now taking their rate down a little bit. Cambridge at 34 and a half. Oxford at 34. But you can see as they go past our camera there in the enclosures where there's lots of encouragement, where length and a half.
Yeah, that Cambridge crew have really stretched out and they've capitalised on Oxford's sluggish start, and they're sitting up at about length and a half stand. So this is a pretty decisive margin at this point in the race.
As you go into the second half, and we're now, I think, 200 metres into the second half of this 1,500 metre course, and fatigue begins to come. Quite often, any inconsistencies that creep in on the first half due to nerves or tension or using slightly too much energy, they've gone, because now you're getting tired and everything's hurting. And quite often the rowing improves in the second half and people actually come back. We've got another race, Tom.
Yeah, next race on the course is race 303, another semi-final of the elite coxless pairs, with Thames Rowing Club on the Berkshire station and an Oxford University Women's Boat Club Reading Rowing Club composite on the Buckinghamshire station. Now, this Oxford University Women's Boat Club Reading composite had an easier row to the semi-finals than I think they probably expected to yesterday, because their opposition was actually disqualified about 150 metres into the race. So I'm sure they'll be rested, and not a lot of lactic overdraw for them. So I'm sure they'll be looking to produce a good performance here on the Henley Women's Regatta course this morning.
Yes, that disqualification was always causes controversy, but I mean, I umpired for many years, and it is quite clear at this sort of level. You have to assume at this sort of level, these are elites, these are the top category. You have to assume if they don't steer on their own course, it's malevolence, not incompetence. And yesterday it was a clear foul. One crew went straight across the river and hit their opponents on their opponent's water, despite the umpire warning. And the crew has to abide by its mistakes, as we've just seen in that in the fours race earlier on today. So yes, they had a comfortable ride yesterday, but that wasn't their fault.
No, absolutely not. And obviously this Oxford University Reading composite has Anastasia Chitty on board, who's raced in 2 winning blue boats that raced on the Tideway in 2015 and 16. So if they do progress to the next round, which of course they're a length and a half, 2 lengths up now, there'll be a bit of chance for vengeance for Oxford University over Cambridge University in the final.
Well, of course, we don't announce the results here. We don't to the live streaming, because people actually can get the results as quickly and as accurately straight from the website. Just go to www.hwr, and as soon as the judges have cleared a race and the result is known, then it's up on the website.
Yeah, it's a rapid response. If you didn't get that, it's www.hwr.regattaresults.co.uk. So head there for any race results. But as we look down the course, it does look like this Oxford University Reading composite have this race pretty much under control, would you say, Stan?
Yes, this is how you would want a semi-final to be, where you've actually got to row hard enough to be at race pace, but you've not actually got to do what I suppose we could call a gut buster. You've not actually got to lay it all out and push yourself through the floor, because this afternoon is another tough race. So this is just the sort of workout. I don't know about you, but as a coach, I'd be very content if my crew had this sort of workout in the semi-final.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's not clear and completely decisive, but they're having enough, you're right, to stretch the legs, get rid of some of those pre-race nerves, and I'm sure they'll be enjoying the row down the course here in the beautiful Henley sunshine. If you are anywhere in the area today and you're at a loose end on this beautiful Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning, and you want to come down and watch some rowing, come down to Henley today. The standard of crew on the course is absolutely phenomenal. And we've got the next race now, just left the state boats, which is race 304, a semi-final of the elite double sculls between Wallingford Rowing Club on the Berkshire station and a French national composite on the Buckinghamshire station.
So that's Flavie Bahide and Alice Main in the Aveyron National Nautique Society Oncourt Aveyron. You say that's one of their national squad
I certainly think it does contain some athletes who have raced at national level before.
And certainly Brianna Stubbs and Ellie Piggott from Wallingford Rowing Club, they also have experience at international level. So we should be seeing here some top-class sculling. These doubles haven't raced before at the regatta, so we don't know any form lines there. But we should have. It shouldn't be very far from each other. We normally find... here we are. We found some background notes here.
Of course, the Wallingford Rowing Club crew are in fact GB lightweight, so to be racing in the heavyweight category is quite an achievement. They're stalwarts of the GB lightweight scene. They won silver medal in the lightweight quad at the 2015 World Championships for GB, and obviously the French crew have two internationals on board who have raced at the, I think, Alice Main raced in the women's quad at the 2015 World Championships, finishing third in the B final, so lots of form on board. So this should prove a stern test from the girls from Wallingford.
Well, and so it proves. We're halfway down the Temple Island Meadows. That's what will be at the Henley Royal Regatta, the quarter-mile signal. And no lead established by either of these of any significance. At the moment, Wallingford have maybe a few feet, but you can almost feel these two doubles looking across the river, eyeing each other and thinking, shall we go now? Shall we not go now? Should we stick to our race plan? They're both sculling at 35. They're both steering extremely well. I think they may be looking at the umpire's launch to stay plumb in the centre of their course. I don't think this race is going to be settled till the last 100 metres.
No, I think I'd agree with you there. I mean, when they're the two crews, you can throw a blanket over them. They really are neck and neck at the moment. I think perhaps Wallingford have the slight advantage, and we're only talking, a third of a length here. But Stan, in this sort of situation where the crews are really, knocking seven bells out of each other, how important is it to stick to your own race plan and not focus on what's going on next door?
That's a good one. I always tell my crews that we must stick to our own race plan unless we sense, and you do sense, unless we sense that it's not working. Now here, when you're rowing level with another crew, then you have to believe your race plan is working. Nobody's got a significant lead. And in this day and age, everybody is fit enough and strong enough to think, well, fine, if I'm there or thereabouts, all I've got to decide is when to go for home. 200 metres, 300 metres, 400 metres from home. And it looks to me as though these two doubles, if they can stay this close for the middle third of the course, that's what will happen. As you can see, the Wallingford double, you can almost feel the determination in their legs and their bodies. We're going to get that extra foot this stroke. We're going to get that extra foot. They've just sneaked up one pip. And can you just see that determination? And the French double look at them and say, yeah, okay, we've spotted that. We're going to harden on a bit. We're not going to let you get away. Nip and tuck, every stroke. It just looks like effortless rowing, but it isn't effortless rowing. There's tactics, there's changes. And psychologically, it's so hard to row alongside another crew.
Yeah,
Excuse me, would you like a coffee?
beautiful sculling from both crews here. But it is Wallingford who have sneaked out to around a length lead now. So I think certainly as they come down the course, they'll be looking to hold on to that and conserve a bit of energy for the final. Because it's my understanding that the following race, which is another semi-final of the Elite Double Sculls, is a row-over for Leander Rowing Club. So I'm sure the Wallingford crew will be looking to stretch out and just take control of this race in the latter stages and make sure there's no chance of a miraculous comeback from the French crew.
Well, it's interesting. Wallingford is still at 34.5. The French double are down at 32. I surely can't believe they've accepted that they're in second place, but the Wallingford just seem to be pushing away from them.
It's a much more lively rhythm, though, isn't it, from the Wallingford crew? I mean, they're out to almost 2 lengths now, and you look at the way they scull, sitting up nice and tall at the catch, vertical shins, and they're placing together, they're driving their legs together, and that is a truly beautiful sight when two scullers are so in unison.
Yes, and you can tell they're not actually flat out, because as the sculls come into the finish, they can actually open and squeeze a little bit more on the finish, but why do you need to? If you're making ground on your opponents, why bother? And as they go down to the finish, it is quite clear that Wallingford are going to be in the final this afternoon.
So we'll head back to the start, and this is a semi-final, or so it was supposed to be a semi-final of the Elite Double Sculls, featuring Leander Rowing Club on the Berkshire Station and an Isle of Ely Rowing Club Imperial College Composite on the Buckinghamshire Station, but unfortunately the Isle of Ely Imperial College crew have had to withdraw from the event. So Leander get a nice row down their home course. The Leander crew, of course, containing Lucinda Gooderman and Debbie Flood, who are both doubling up from the quad. Debbie, of course, was the first female captain of Leander Club, the most famous boat club in the world. So she's an established athlete, a multiple Olympian. And I believe Lucinda is on the cusp of breaking into the GB senior team. So a double with some real class and a bit of mix of experience and potential here, Stan.
Well, I've been wondering all weekend how Debbie's going to cope at the prize giving this afternoon, because of course Debbie is the celebrity prize giver this afternoon, and she's very much on track to win 2 events. So I shall be here this afternoon just after 5 o'clock when the prize giving takes place, but it will be a wonderful moment for whoever's in charge of protocol this afternoon. Have you ever been to the prize giving here at Henley Women's Regatta?
I have to say I haven't, and unfortunately I'm going to miss it again this year because I do have to scarper off at about 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Well, the thing about Henley Women's prize giving, and this was started almost at the first regatta 27 years ago, it was decided that actually we ought to make something of the prize giving. So it happens right after the last race, and it was suggested that the young ladies shouldn't wear their regatta blazers. Of course, most of them in those days didn't have them, and they certainly shouldn't wear their rowing kit, but they actually should wear something smart. So all the competitors today in the finals will have tucked somewhere in their kit bag what can only be described as their party glad rags. And you turn up for the prize giving and it is most gorgeous. Instead of being the fit athletes that we see rowing so spectacularly, these visions of beauty waft up to collect their trophies. It is an absolute